What if your life was an invitation and everything wasn't just happening to you, but through you? When you start to believe in the magic of you, you become it. This is your invitation to heal and rise above into the fullest expression of you. This is the Liz Swadek Show, and your transformation starts now. Let's begin.
Welcome back to the Liz Swadek Show. This is a podcast where warrior women rise and where legacies are claimed. So welcome. And reinvention is the name of my game. Everybody knows that. I'm your host, Liz Swadek, and today's episode is one of those conversations that will leave you changed. So get on board. My guest today is someone I have had the absolute privilege of witnessing transform. And she's transformed from the inside out. That's what's amazing about her. Cassie is a former corporate powerhouse who, after years of climbing the corporate ladder, checking the boxes, and living the way she was supposed to, she decided to pause, to breathe, and to ask the question that changes everything. What do I really want? And I hope you leave it that question today. What do I really want? And through her journey in Limitless and the Wise Women Collective, Cassie did more than just reflect. She rose. She reconnected with her soul's purpose. She launched her dream business, and now she is the founder of Your Soulful Career Calling, a movement, a podcast, and a message that every woman and every child, every young adult needs to hear. Anyone who's been living for everyone but themselves. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it really takes to walk away and feel safe in a life that you really want, to create the life, to step into the life that's truly yours. Cassie's story is about bravery, alignment, healing, and reminding us that it's never too late to become who you really are and who you are really meant to be. So pour your coffee, grab your journal, get ready to get inspired. We're going to dive in. Welcome to the show, Cassie.
Well, thank you, Liz. You know, it's my absolute honor to be here with you. So thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, this is a conversation a long time in the making because Cassie and I have these conversations all the time. We have these conversations all the time. We're just going to let you in on this one. And I really want you to hear her story because Cassie's story is so inspiring because she is really following something that is in her soul, something that really she's so convicted in. But let's back up. So before Limitless, before Wise Women Collective, before we started working together, what did life feel like? I just want you to go back. What did life feel like for you? And when did you realize that something really had to change?
So the way I kind of describe that time in my life where you and I, connected on a deeper level and decided to start working together, I describe it as drowning. It's kind of like the little ducks that their feet are going, you look super calm on the surface. Everything looks like, put together. Nobody would know. But I was so feverishly, just spinning my little legs underneath. And quite honestly, I didn't even feel like I was above water. I was under. Everything felt just so much more challenging than it needed to be. I'd lost my ability to find real joy. Everything felt very obligatory. And I didn't want to live that way. That's not who I am at my core. Anybody that knows me well would certainly not describe me that way, but it's the way I felt. Things were kind of numb, and I was going through the motions, and everything on paper should have, to anyone else, it's like, yes, living the dream, living it well. And it's not that I'm not appreciative of where I was at in my life. I didn't feel alive. I didn't feel alive in what I was doing.
And was there a moment where you were like, this has to change? Because first of all, I don't think I hear one story more than why am I having this feeling? Like, I have everything. I have a husband. I have a nice house. I have kids. I should be grateful. Like we get in this great gratitude loop, right? And we just kind of gaslight ourselves and ignore the soul calling and say, no, girl, just be grateful for what you have. You're lucky, right? Like stop this, and then no one would even believe, like, you have a beautiful family. You're a gorgeous woman. You have a job. What could be the matter? Right. And meanwhile, there's all these women walking around feeling the exact same way. So what was the moment that you were like, no, I'm going to, this has to change. Like I'm going to take the action. I'm not just going to feel this. I'm going to take the action.
Part of it was really based on all the things I'd done before to try to pull myself out. They were no longer working. Whether it be that you try to, kind of short-term kind of reinvent yourself. The normal connections that I had with people that I would rely on they weren't getting to me to where I needed to be. And ultimately, honestly, it was me taking a look and saying, the people I love most are suffering because I'm not my best. And they deserve better than that. And now I realize as well, I certainly deserved better than that. I had put myself last. I mean, we think that that's what we do as a wife and a mother and as an employee, but none of those people were getting the best of me. They were getting just enough because I was just surviving. And I knew they deserved more. And now I also know that I deserve more.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I always say, if you're going to do this work and you don't want to do it because you think it's selfish, I always say, okay, well then do it for your kids, do it for your husband, do it for your sister, do it for your mother, because the ripple effect is huge. It's not really just like you're doing the work. It's like when you're waking up and you're excited about your life and you love where it's going and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Your kids, your husband, your friends are all like, oh, well, shit, I want to feel alive. I want to do things, right? That ripple effect is so incredible. And you have such a big circle of deep women who are so wonderful. And I recently went to your birthday and I watched them celebrate your 50th, and just seeing who you were to these women let me know how important it is for you to be doing what you're doing, because you are such a light for them. You always have been. And so they want you to be this person. They need you to be this person. So my God, ladies, if not for you, for all the people that love you and who are watching, your kids, your daughter, they're watching, right? So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's so true. So you've been through this. I mean, you've been through a massive transformation. And it's so funny because people see you and say, you look great and all this stuff, but they have no idea that the massive transformation is the internal, right? Like, it's like, oh, what you're seeing, you may think I've like lost a little weight or I look a little more rested. No, girl, what you're seeing is the internal transformation that I've gone through. So what was the most surprising or unexpected part of becoming the woman you are now?
Well, I'll say, even from the way you were describing me, and thank you for your graciousness in that way and being so generous. But I kind of describe it as though my internal light had turned off. Like you say, like, oh, like, I feel like you were able to witness that I can be a light for those people around me. And, there was the twinkle in my eye was gone. The light had been turned off. It was dimmed. And honestly, it had to kind of be turned back on internally before I could then embrace and be my full self again, lit up, bright, joyful, excited. It's hard to say if there was one moment, because honestly, this type of work, it takes revisiting a lot of things, kind of negative beliefs you have about yourself, thought loops that we continue to have in our head that keep us in a stuck space. But one thing that really does stand out was work that we did at a wonderful retreat together, where the concept of having to always be the bigger person really came into play. And I realized that me living in that space of always having to say, I have to be the bigger person, that I was denying so much of my own feelings and my own needs. And that's where I started to get lost over the years. It's okay to care about other people and care about them well, which I do know. I love loving others very well, but because had adopted for so long that mindset of I have to be the bigger person or their needs matter more, that all the while I'd been shrinking and disappearing, and then was just finally lost. I mean, you do it gradually over time. So I think as women, we don't always know that we're doing it. We think we're just giving and providing and loving others well. Well, if we're not thinking, what does this mean for me? We get totally lost over time. It's a slow slow process, sadly. But then you finally wake up and you're like, who am I? Where am I in this process? Because I have only been putting everybody else above me.
Yeah. And I think that bigger person concept, I think, is something we've been told to believe, right? Girls especially, you're supposed to be a good girl and be nice and all that stuff. And I think, we have moments in our lives where people come into our lives who are, crossing our boundaries, who are doing things, and we are over here feeling like, okay, I'll just keep being the bigger person. Sometimes it's like, actually, no. Actually, this person doesn't even deserve your time and your energy and your focus. All these other people who are loving you and loving every word and want to support and love you. And then we get really focused on the one or two or three that are not really wishing us well, that are in some other story of their own making, but it's coming off to you as maybe they're betraying or whatever they're doing. But in that scenario, I don't think anybody needs to be the bigger person. I think in that scenario, sometimes we have to say, no, this is not about me being the bigger person. I cannot ignore my boundaries, ignore my desires, and ignore my feelings, frankly, where I don't feel safe with this person just so I can be the bigger person.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that, because I think that is common. I think women, even in these friendships, sometimes we will like violate our own boundaries, our own emotional needs, just to say, well, I'm going to be the bigger person. It seems like everyone else likes her and I don't want to make a problem, right? Like, and then we end up sacrificing ourselves.
Yeah, I think boundaries is something that can get, kind of a bad rap depending on how you approach it. And I think, for a long time in my life, I thought boundaries were very restrictive, off-putting, but now I've really learned they're very healthy. It's not only healthy for yourself, but healthy for the other people in your life. They kind of know what to expect as well. They also know what you will and won't kind of put up with. Mm-hmm. And that's a healthy thing. Even coming with, my faith is a big part of my life. And even from a faith-filled perspective, boundaries are healthy. I mean, God even tells us, like, choose wisely, love fully, but choose wisely what you're letting into your life and who you're giving all of yourself to, because those influence can really impact us. So the boundaries part and really embracing that is a healthy thing to do for yourself and for other relationships, I think it's really key for women. The sooner you learn that, the better. I mean, it's something that I hope my daughter, it doesn't take her to get to 50 to learn that. And it's not unkind. It's actually, I think you said recently, and in a group, that clarity is kindness. Boundaries it's not being unkind by having a boundary. And you can do it with kindness, but owning that for yourself and knowing yourself well and what I'm going to accept and what I'm not willing to accept is the clarity we all need.
Absolutely. And that's so true. We were talking about that in Wise Women. We were talking about how clear is kind. If someone asks me to lunch and I'm like, oh, let me check my calendar, then I don't answer the text for 2 more days. Oh, hey, following up, are we having lunch? Meanwhile, I don't want to have lunch. I can't, I'm too busy, or I don't want to have lunch with this person. Versus if I just said, I'm so sorry, I'm in a part of my life right now, I'm just I'm really bogged down. I'm not really doing lunches right now. Just whatever you want to say. to close the door, be clear and kind, versus this woman feeling terrible, reaching out to me all the time, wanting to see me. And I'm just constantly dodging and weaving, right? And we think we're being kind by doing that. But when I tell this, it's like, well, shit, that is not kind, actually. That is, making her feel all a bunch of things like me avoiding and all this stuff. She's reading that, right? So you're right. Clear is kind. And I think the more clear we are, and I know it's scary sometimes to be like, no, and not say something 10 things after it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm not available for that. It's like, woo, you have to get used to being safe with boundaries, right? Just feeling like I am allowed and safe. And that's how I show how much I love myself and I love other people, is by showing where my boundary is.
It's funny you said that exact phrase was on the tip of my tongue as I was listening to you. And it can be as simple as that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not available for that at this time.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom growing up teaching me the phrase of, you don't owe anybody an explanation. We think we have to over-explain. And your choice is your choice. If you know yourself well, I mean, you don't owe anybody an explanation. So I think that being able to embrace those things is really freeing and very healthy.
Yeah. And you have to practice it to make it feel more free and healthy, right? Like it's not a one and done. It's like, I got to do it a couple times. I got to get used to saying this phrase, and then you start feeling like, okay, yes, I can do it. But really, no is a complete sentence, and it's okay to say no. So tell everyone about your new business and your podcast, Your Soulful Career Calling. I'm so excited about all of this. So what inspired all of this, and who is it for?
So the inspiration came from two pain points in my life. The first is really looking back at a time in my life. I mean, I've joked for a long period of my adult life saying, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But the truth of that is that there were pain points of me feeling, number one, again, I should be really happy. I've had a great career in the professional world, but there was a lack of genuine connection and fulfillment. I knew there was something more I was meant to do. But the pain points really come from, I can so distinctly remember being 17, going off to college, picking a major kind of haphazardly, and being terrified. Because I had no idea. I mean, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. But just the anxiety of, okay, I don't know what this is going to look like. What are the next steps? And even scarier is I remember graduating, and now I have this degree in psychology, which I loved, but I had no idea what to do next. And I was frozen. I was paralyzed with the fear and anxiety. So I remember that feeling so well, and wishing that I had more insight. I'd done more introspective work, that I had somebody come alongside me and say, well, let's really dig into this then. What are the things you love about that? Where could you take this? What are things you like, don't like? So that's the first pain point. The second is honestly just watching what I describe as the ridiculous amount of pressure that young adults are under right now. They are expected, and I don't know why, to have it all figured out by 15, 16 years old, what you want to pursue. And then you need to know what major you're going to do at that point, because that's going to dictate sometimes the coursework that you take, even in high school. It used to be that college, you had a little bit more room to be exploratory and figure that out. And that seems to have really been stripped away. And then these kids are starting down these paths because something sounds right, or somebody told them this is what they're good at. And then they're just in the race, and they're lost. And I'm so sad for them. I mean, watching, I have my own teenage kids, and there's so many others that I love in my life. And I'm like, this is not right. We're doing this wrong. We are not coming alongside them and embracing them and saying, let's figure out what lights you up. Let's go back to the things that you loved as a kid. What are the things you can get lost in? And then you can start, really narrowing down based on themselves, not the outside world, not the pressures, not the shoulds. And so it was those two pain points that I was like, I want to have an impact in this space. I want it to look differently for any kid that I can touch. Any adult, and there's still adults that, come to me that are going through kind of reimagining a different next chapter, different chapter in their life. And I want them to feel what that feels, to feel really connected to something and know this is what I'm meant to do, where I can make an impact.
Yeah.
So that is where this kind of was birthed from. And I'm loving it. I am loving the own joy that I get out of it, because I'm getting to see these kids light up. They start to talk and express themselves, and they're engaged, and they start to see things within themselves that have been lost. It's been lost because of the pressure, because of all the have to check the box and performance measures. And I just love seeing them light up, and then getting them excited about their future rather than anxious or of wanting to avoid it.
Yes.
So it's really become something that I'm doing coaching, one-on-one. I'm doing group coaching. I'm also launching this podcast, Your Soulful Career Calling. And that came from our conversations of really, what do I want this to be about? I want this podcast to be for anybody to come on. I don't care if you're 7 years old or you're 70 years old, and you're curious about what a neurosurgeon does. It sounds cool. We have all these titles in this world, but what does that person really do? That's this much of the story I want to uncover. The bigger story I want to uncover is, okay, what made that person want to go into this line of work? What are they connected to from their childhood that shows up now? What lights them up? What does a day in the life look like? But I want to get to the underbelly of it all. What advice would they give to their younger self? I really want it to be about connection. I want people to be inspired, and I want us to stop doing this race with the heaviness of that just is really burdening all of us right now. Again, doesn't matter what age you are. I see people that are just burdened within their careers, and I want people to break free from that.
Yeah, well, clearly we're doing it wrong. These kids are so burdened. Just even going through the process with Landon, watching how he was supposed to have every single thing figured out, because if you don't, well, what's your major? You don't want to go in undeclared. Well, then what school are you applying to? Because you don't even know what you're studying. What are you doing? And it just, all those conversations were so big. I'm like, my God, I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I was in high school. Like, I was just over here, like, taking a math class. Like, everything's become so serious. And sports is the same way. It's like, nobody can just play basketball because they enjoy it. No, you have to be at a D1 team. You can't even play unless you've been recruited. Like, I'm so sick of the lack of exploration, frankly, that these kids get to have. And what's so exciting about Career Quest and what you do is you have a whole way you do that, right? You have a whole journey that you take these young adults, these teens, adults, whoever, through, where they get to actually think about it in a different way. There isn't the pressure. You're just over there exploring. And when you did this process with Landon, I was like, who is he talking to? He's over there chatting Cassie's head. I was like, what is happening? And I had known some things about Landon, but wow, you really uncovered such specific detail, like not just that he likes politics. What is it about politics? What is it about that? Oh, well, and you kept digging and digging in a good way. And for all of us that are listening to this that are going, well, shit, I'd like to have that conversation with my kid, but he won't talk to me. Guess what? He won't talk to me, but he talks to Cassie. When Cassie's doing it, he suddenly is telling her all the things. I'm over here like, what? Wait, what did he say? What? So that's the miracle too, is that when you do this work, they really open up because there is no pressure. It's not their parents. It's not their teacher. It's not their guidance counselor asking this question, right? They're not being asked this question in a way that has pressure behind it. They're being asked in curiosity. And so they're exploring and figuring it out, and you're taking them into these details, and they're learning, and then you give them all these things to do. So I think it's so genius what you do. But tell me also, so you've also been going into schools.
Mhm.
Tell me about that. So when you go into a school, so when you work with a kid one-on-one or a workshop, you take them through that kind of exploration journey. It's also about leadership and so many other things like developing networking skills. My God, you teach them so many things. When Lana and I have been talking about networking, ever since that conversation, we have been going so deep on this networking thing. I was so glad you introduced that concept of like how important that really is to him. But what do you do when you go to schools? How does that work with you when you go into schools?
So we have a career exposures program. And what we do is we go into schools, and ideally what we try to do is really look into the school community itself, find parents that of the kids at the community that have some really interesting jobs. Maybe a little bit outside the box, say maybe something that a kid hasn't yet been introduced to. It might be a doctor, but it's beyond that. So you might be somebody who works with AI medicine, or some of these kind of new emerging types of jobs. But the goal is really going into the community first, identifying parents, or it could be staff or alumni, but within that community that are willing to be panelists. And we really go into exploring the role that networking plays. We want to expose them to a lot of different types of jobs. I shouldn't say a lot, it's usually about 5 panelists, but I have gone back to schools, repeatedly, and kind of bringing new people in. But exposing them is one thing. Getting to kind of think outside the box of, oh, I didn't know there were jobs like that existed. Really getting them to talk about, tell me about the subjects you loved in school. How are those showing up now? I'll tell you, the teachers love that. They're, math teachers are like, yes, yes, science, yes. They love that they're seeing the connections. And it's interesting to see things that you wouldn't think would maybe connect, how they show up in these adult careers.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the power of networking, which you and I were just speaking of, that is critical. The people in their life that I want kids to be curious and be inquisitive, give themselves permission when they're sitting with some of their parents' friends that have come over for dinner. Ask them about what they do. Well, why do you like that? What made you choose that?
Yes.
What type of decisions did you have to make that were kind of hard to get there? What does the future of this job look like? So we really we explore that from an element of being really inquisitive and curious and just wonder, because then you create the world of what's possible. There's so many things that are possible out there. And it's really fun. We've had, schools say, we haven't had kids ask so many questions in a Q&A, because at the end, we try to end with a few Q&A, and there are hands going up left and right. They are curious. They're excited. They just connected with somebody. They're like, I didn't know that existed. So that's another part. It's all about exposure and getting kids to realize there's a big, exciting world out there of careers. You do not have to start funneling this down and figuring it out at 14, 15, 16 years old. Let's expose yourself. Let's get curious. Let's research. And then knowing yourself really well, knowing the world that's out there, then you can start bridging the two together.
Yeah. And I think this really speaks to how many people, me included, you included, where we just got into any job. We were like, I guess I'll just take this job. No, there was no exploration. We weren't like, what really lights me up? No, we were just like taking any job. And you have some statistic now about how many careers these kids, these new generation, what was that statistic you told me? I can't even remember.
So kids these days in their lifetime will have 9 different careers. 9.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. So then what do you do? Like, because that to me is overwhelming. When I hear that, I'm like, oh my God, Cassie, like my kid's going to have 9 different careers. What do you do? Like, what's the conversation then if they know they're going to maybe have 9 careers?
It usually goes one of 2 ways. The first is overwhelm, and they kind of respond with why in the world would anybody want 9 jobs?
Yeah.
And I could quickly remind them, well, they probably didn't do the work that you and I are doing to really understand themselves in a deep way.
Yeah.
The second response is, cool. Oh, that's, kind of they're thinking like, oh, I could do so many different things. But the anxiety still steps in, because the next question they follow up with is, well, where do I start?
Yes.
What now? And so to really break free and unburden them from that anxiety that both of those answers kind of give, I simply ask them, well, what do you want to do first? What are you curious about first? You don't have to have the next 50 years figured out. You don't even have to know what you want to major in right now. What are you curious about? What are you excited about? Let's just start there first. This is a journey, and it is not completely linear. You and I know that, and the work that I do is not promising any parent or any child that they're going to figure it all out, with several sessions with me and they have their life figured out. That is not the goal. The goal is, what do you want to do first? And let's give you the skill set to ask the right questions, to be inquisitive, to network, to research, to just educate yourself and explore the world of possibilities.
Yeah.
And take that pressure off.
Totally. And not just do the thing you just think you should do, or your friends doing, or your parents want you to do, or right. And to make the same mistakes that a lot of us have made, where you just kind of are doing the thing because you're doing it. I don't know. My dad was a lawyer. I guess I'll be one. And then you talk to them. They're like, you know what? I really wish I hadn't done this.
Yeah.
Like, it's so interesting. And I think you're helping people avoid that and really helping kids start to think about, like, no, what is actually my natural talent and gift? Like, everybody's has natural talents and gifts. If we all were in our unique purpose and our natural talents and gifts, what a world.
Yeah.
What a world. So I think it's genius what you have. And of course, we will be putting your Soulful Career Calling, your new podcast, into the show notes so people can hop over there. And I'm hoping you'll have me on your podcast because I want to go.
You're lined up.
Okay, good. Yay. So let's talk about this, because it's all fine to be like, Cassie launched this business. It's so great, everyone. Everybody knows that releasing the corporate thing and going into entrepreneurship, that is not a little easy thing to do. So what fears, what stories did you have to let go of to finally start living a life not only for everyone else, but also to let yourself do this thing you want to do?
A couple of things come up. One is, I've worked in a space and built a career that then it felt so safe and predictable. And that felt really good, right? And our bodies, our minds want to keep us safe. So I've learned that from you, that fear kind of, plays tricks on us, because it'll creep up and say, oh, no, don't stretch yourself because you're safe. So I've had to really change the dialogue around, how do I want to approach fear? And that's an ongoing, I'm not going to lie, that is an ongoing kind of, not, I guess, an ongoing challenge, but it's work you have to do constantly. It has to become a conscious practice of saying, I'm not going to let fear stop me and say, I'm safe. Don't stretch yourself. Things are good. Don't rock the boat.
Right. In fact, if fear doesn't show up, I would say you're not doing anything that you want to do, because it really is it's anytime we're entering a zone of doing something new and unfamiliar, our minds and bodies are like, oh, no, back it down, queen. And your mind will feed you all the things. So you're 100% right. It is it's not a one and done. It's a practice, 100%.
Yeah. So that is one of the first things.
What were the fears?
Oh gosh. They still creep up. That you won't succeed.
Yep.
Who do you think you are?
100%. I feel like we could make a CD of this. It's like a playlist. The "Who Do You Think You Are" song, the "What Is Everyone Else Gonna Think" song, right? Yeah. Everything.
It's just a lot of judgment, whether it's real or perceived, and it's self-judgment, and it's the perceived judgment that you think you might have of others. And I've really just had to continue to relinquish that and say, the success, and by the way, the way we measure success changes too. Success doesn't always, in the same thing I tell kids I coach, it doesn't have to be a dollar amount. Sure, that may follow in time. The success for me is being in a space that I'm like, I feel alive. I know I'm making an impact. I'm doing something that's lasting and it's important. So your definition of success, can change too. There was another point. So go back to that question. I want to make sure I'm answering it fully.
What stories did you have to let go of to finally start living the life for you, not everyone else?
So the other thing that it came up when you mentioned that is, we laugh, but you we're so good and still are so good about, you said, Cassie, you want to have your backpack, not the backpack, the parachute completely packed. It's going to be safe before I want to know, like, how high is the plane going before I'm going to jump? Where's the landing pad? And you were like, girl, just jump. Like, you got what you need. That parachute's going to open. You're going to land. And I think some of that belief is knowing I've got this.
Yeah.
I've got this. And maybe you don't have to have A through Z figured out.
Yes.
You got A, B, C, D, you're good. Let's go. The rest is going to follow. I know I've got it within me, or you knew I had it within me. But sometimes you do just have to take the jump. And I use a very, very simple mindset technique with my kids when I'm coaching them too. And it's a very simple 3-letter word that I try to use in my vernacular and I want them to start using. And that's the word yet. And rather than keep putting ourselves in these limiting mindsets of I'm not good at this or I'm not ready for this, when you end whatever that sentence is with the word yet, it becomes expansive. It becomes possible. You're living in a world that's so much more free. And you're like, I can do this. I don't have to have it all figured out yet, knowing that you'll get there. So,
and P.S., you're never going to have it all figured out. So just fun fact. I'm still waiting. When am I going to have this all figured out? It's never happening. But there is a whole, I believe in messy action, and I know that's not comfortable for a lot of women because we really do like to check all our boxes. So I want to do this and this and this and this and this and this and have all these certifications and have all of this lined up. And the truth is, life is not like that. Like, there's going to be, even if you have all that stuff, there's going to be so many unknowns that happen. I mean, you can't predict every single thing that's going to happen. So you're better off having some things in place, but then saying, girl, I'm jumping, because you don't know till you get there. What if you don't even like it? What if you launch the business that you think you like, and then you have a couple of clients, you're like, oh my God, this isn't it, right? You don't know, right?
Yeah.
So you have to take the action so you can get the data, right? You can't get the data by thinking about it. You can't get the data by checking a box off and doing your to-do list. There's no data in there, but the action brings the data, right? Like,
and it's the exact same thing, Liz, with kids figuring out their careers. I say to parents, look, your kid's purpose, it's not going to magically appear to them. It is in purposeful action and in the doing that they're going to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so all of that is data gathering. We do that in the coaching too. It's like, we got to dig deep. Like, let's figure out, what does this job really look like?
Yeah.
You think you're interested? Well, let's dig in, let's do informational interviewing. Let's do the research. Let's do some shadow days or internships. Do you like it? Great. Do you not? Okay. Next.
Right. Moving
What do
on.
you want to do next? We started with, what do you want to do first? Okay. What do you want to do next? It's that easy. Take that pressure off of them. But so much of it is data gathering. And don't let the fear of having to have it all figured out, whether you're a kid trying to figure out your career, you're a person trying to launch a new business, you got to go for it.
Yeah. Got to go for it. Got to go for it. So what would you say to the woman who is stuck? Because you were that woman, right? You were stuck. You were like, oh my God. And first the stuckness was more emotional stuckness and just a general stuckness. But then it became like, wait, I actually really want to do something different. I really feel like there's more for me, right? So what would you say to the woman who is stuck and silently wondering if it's too late to reinvent herself or follow her calling?
First, I want to say to that person who may be listening that I feel you. I could get emotional talking about it, but I feel that angst and that sadness and the heaviness that you feel like, is this it? And, oh, but I should be happy. But no, is this it? I feel you. And no, it's not it. You can reinvent yourself over and over again. And honestly, it's the most exciting, wonderful thing. You want to be a person who continues to grow and thrive. So 2 things I would say. Number 1 is, give yourself permission to invest in yourself. We do so much investing into other people and loving others, and that is a great thing. But give yourself the permission to say, I matter too. And there are small ways and big ways you can invest in yourself. Give yourself permission to start doing that.
Yeah.
The second is find your community. Find a community of people. I tell my kids, you are who you hang with. Whatever we surround ourselves with really kind of infiltrates our thoughts and our actions. And take a look around. Doesn't mean you have to drop all the people in your life. There's probably people in your life that honestly feel the same way and would love nothing more but to grab arms and say, let's dig in and grow together. But find your people that have the same mindset of saying, I want to grow. I want to heal. And I want to rediscover how to live bigger and brighter again. So give yourself permission and find your people that want to do the same thing.
I love that. And when you said, it's funny, when you said invest in yourself in big and small ways, I always want to say to people, but invest in yourself in a way you maybe haven't before. Some of us in the past, I've paid for vacations, Cassie. I'm like, you know what? I deserve a vacation. Okay, fine. I can get on board with a vacation. It's almost like that's spending that's allowed, right?
Yeah.
And when it came to a retreat, and it wasn't just a retreat where we were going to sit out by a pool. It was a really deep, reflective retreat. I'm like, I don't know. And it's like, I really questioned, and then when I started investing in myself in kind of the right ways and the things that were really deep, I started noticing such changes, and then I didn't even care. Then I was like, what is that? $10,000 for that certification? $20,000 for that certification? I'm feeling a hell yes in my body. That is a hell yes for me. And now I don't care. Now I will spend any amount of money on my growth, expansion, and just sheer fucking joy. I will do that. But it took me a while to get there. And so I feel like you got to kind of go baby steps, but also don't invest in your ways that you've always done. Like if you've always done the therapy, don't stop therapy necessarily, but do something different. Hire a coach. Or, I've always had a business coach. Okay, well, try a personal coach. Maybe right? Or I've always done coaching. Try hypnotherapy, rapid transformational therapy. Try a different modality, because sometimes you just need to unstick yourself and go into a different zone when you're investing. And that community thing is huge. You and I know that this Wise Women Collective, the group that you're in, that is a gold level group of women that
Incredible.
You are in. And to watch the way you all support each other, to watch the way you all hold space for each other, you guys go further and faster. You build huge things. I mean, everybody in that group is building things and doing things and transforming in the most incredible and truly fast ways, because they know they have that support. They know they're safe, right?
Yep.
We can say anything in that room, and we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been powerful for you, especially to have that super safe space where it doesn't matter what you say. They're like, we've got you.
Yep.
That's been truly transformative for you, because you are that person, Cassie, for so many people. That makes me emotional. Cassie, you are that person for so many people. And just last night, I watched these people say, I'm your sister. This is your sisterhood here. I'm your sister. Because you said, I've always wanted a sister. And they were like, what about us? I mean, it was so cute. They all were like, I want to be your sister. And I thought, my God, what a group for you to have, because you are that thing. You are that person. You are that beacon for so many people.
Thank you for saying that. And I am blessed. I do have that in, many women in my life. I think when we go back to the beginning of this conversation, there was a point in my life where I had just become feeling a little beat up, and I was numb. Even those relationships, it just didn't feel as truly connected. I honestly, because I think I'd pushed it away, and from hurt. And I've been able to see in abundance with a group that loves big, that pours in. There's no competition. It is like cheering from the rooftops for each other about it. That's what we need. And that has been critical for me. And honestly, it's opened me back up to saying, I know I have that. I have been, luckily I have that in this group, but I have it outside this group too. And I can lean into that again.
Yeah,
Because I believe it again.
Yeah, you can trust it again.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so true because that expansion let you to expand out of the group and say, okay, I'm going to let people in. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm safe. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that you've done all this inner work, and I know it's a journey and where there's still always more work to do, inner work, but now that you've done the inner work and are helping other people find their purpose, what does that, because I love the term of legacy.
Yeah.
What does living a legacy mean to you now that you've kind of been on this journey?
Legacy. Well, it's funny. I've said there's a couple things that I want written on my tombstone. Someday when I'm gone. The first is that she loved others well, whether it be in my personal or professional life. I'll get emotional. I want my legacy to be that I loved others well. And I know I do. And that's not, and I'm not, it's okay to say that. And that is not being braggadocious or obnoxious. Like, I love loving into other people well. But when it comes to, I guess, more specifically what my focus is right now from my own launching pad of this business, I want people to know that you really can find connection. You can find where your own impact is going to be in this world. That doing the work up front, it doesn't even be front, it could be in the middle of your life, but doing the work, the necessary work to uncover who you really are and what you're connected to can bring such deep fulfillment. And I want people to embrace that approach in their career and in their life of being introspective, of finding connection, because that's going to have just an incredible ripple effect of the other people that they come in contact with.
Absolutely. And you are that ripple effect. I keep, Cassie's many times told me, oh my God, I think of the teacher that I wanted, I went back and I talked to the teacher. I said, oh my God, Cassie, that's going to be you. You're going to have these women and men and young adults who come back and say, oh my God, Cassie, if you didn't do that with me, I would have never even thought I could be the job that I love, I wouldn't even have thought I could have this career. I wouldn't even have known that was what my soul was calling out for. I thought it was this and it wasn't that. And you helped me figure that out. And oh my God, people are going to come back and tell you that. And you're just going to be like, oh my God, like thinking of all the people that need you and that you're going to change their whole experience, their college experience, their career experience. You're going to change it all for them, And I love this because this is the way we should be thinking about our career paths, not just like, okay, I guess I'll do this. And like, it's random. And like, well, I'll just try that major. There should be intentionality. It should be about your heart's desire. It should be about your impact and your legacy, right? It should be that journey because that's the fulfilling journey. That is the soul calling.
Well said.
I'm going to come on your podcast and say that.
Yes, you are.
I didn't know where I was going for a minute, and all of a sudden I ended up exactly where I wanted to be.
Landed it.
Oh, so funny. Thank you so much, Cassie. This has been such an amazing conversation. I'm so thrilled for you as your friend, as your coach, as all the things, but I can't even believe all the things you're doing because listen, you are doing all the work. I'm over here guiding, supporting, but you're actually doing the action. You're doing the hard work. You're doing the transforming. And so I just want to just celebrate you because you are, my God, from where we started, could you even have predicted?
Nope.
This is where we would be.
No. And honestly, Liz, I'll say this over and over again, but thank you. You also love others well, and you have a gift. What did I call you? What was that sign I gave you?
Oh, hold on. Let me hold it up because I have it right there. Difference maker. Difference maker.
A difference maker. And I think if there's more difference makers in this world that can see things in other people that they may not see themselves, like you did for me, and that I believe I'm doing within others now, that's the only legacy that we really need. So thank you.
I could not have said it better myself. I love that. I love that. Okay, well, everyone, if you have ever felt like you were living a life that looked good on the outside, good on paper, but it didn't feel good on the inside, if you feel like you are living someone else's life, Cassie's story is proof. It's proof to you that you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not actually stuck. You're not stuck, right? This is the beginning. This is the beginning of that yellow brick road that you get to go down and explore. So this conversation is a reminder that reinvention doesn't have an age limit, right, Cassie? It doesn't. That legacy is not built in a moment. It's built in the courageous, everyday, little actions, messy actions, and going forward. That soul-led choices are something we make every day. It's not a one and done. And Cassie is literally walking proof that when you pause long enough to just hear that inner voice and you trust it, you can build something extraordinary. So don't forget to follow and support Cassie. I'm going to put all her information of her beautiful new podcast, Your Soulful Career Calling. I want to make sure, because this is just the beginning. You got to get on board early with Cassie. This is just the beginning. Catch her before she really orbits into the sky, and she's going to be so busy she might not even be able to call you. So catch her now. Get on that podcast. Go explore what she's doing with young adults, with women, with men. She's changing lives. And until next time, remember, you are not too late. You are not too old. And your future is still unwritten. So let's write it. Thank you, everybody. Bye.